Hello there, welcome to Greenhat-Redbeard Adventures. I'm out in the woods today and I thought I'd show you my top 5 survival items of 2020. Now there's some items here that some people might question a little bit, but these are items that I carry with me on a day-to-day basis on day hikes as well as campouts. For example, some people might think that a sleeping bag might be worthy of mentioning in their top survival items. But, how many of us really carry a sleeping bag around with us on a day-to-day basis out in the woods for a simple day hike? Not many of us. Same goes with a wool blanket, for example. So, these items are items that I carry with me on a day-to-day basis, no matter what day it is, no matter what time of year, no matter what the weather is. These are 5 items that I carry with me at all times. Bikes are going by, it scared the crap out of me. There's actually a trail right over there and over there as well. I didn't realize how close it was. So anyways, these guys are going by. So anyways, my top 5 items in no particular order here. I thought I'd show you. First one is a reflective blanket. This reflective blanket is this is the SOL blanket. This is the 2-person size. I like the bigger sizes because, one, I'm a big guy, but not only that, but I want to be able to wrap myself into it, but not only wrap myself into it, but especially if it's raining outside or winter or snow, whatever, I want to be able to both wrap myself and my gear as well. So I want to be able to position. When I do use these, I can not only use them as a shelter, but also use them for the sake of just sitting there in front of a fire, wrap myself up, keep myself dry as well as my gear dry. And a lot of times I'll be sitting cross-legged, leaned up against a tree. I want to put my backpack on my lap and just simply go to sleep just like that. But even then, in most survival type of situations, when it comes to simply overnighters, because I have been lost in the woods overnight before, don't expect to get much sleep, unfortunately. But everybody's different. Everybody has their own personal preferences, own ways to do it. That's just the way I like to do it. So reflective blanket reflects your body heat back to you. Good to have for that, as well as to make shelter with. Next item here, cordage. 550 paracord is what I often carry. I usually carry somewhere in the general range or at least 50 feet. I usually have a roll of it. Sometimes I'll have it cut in smaller pieces so that way I can set up my tarp with. I don't always carry my tarp, but I always carry paracord. There's many things I can do with paracord, not just in survival situations, but just in everyday situations. In a survival type of situation, I can use this for making shelter with, which is usually the primary intention, is what I use it for. Other times on a simple day hike, I can set up a clothesline to dry my clothes. If it's hot, I get sweaty sometimes, my shirt will get sweaty, take off my shirt, hang it up, make sure it dries out, as well as like I said, making shelter. And there's also many other things I can do with it. Little arts and crafts projects. I also can set it up to hang my backpack up off the ground. Like I said, multiple uses. Next up, my clean canteen water bottle. This is for size of 1 liter. As you can see, it's got all the discoloration all over it. So I always start off with 1 liter of clean, fresh drinking water, preferably cold, because that's the way I like cold water drinking. But in a survival type of situation, not just for holding water, I can also refill my water. I can take my shirt, put it over top of the top here, fill up some dirty water, and I can stick this right into the fire, boil water, purify your water. And not only that, but you can also sleep with it too. Fill up with the whether it's clean water or dirty water, put it right in the fire, boil your water, and then just stick it right into your coat, hug it, and you can just help you stay warm. Keep it around your chest area for those vital organs to keep you warm all night. And I've had this particular bottle for probably about 3 years or so. Obviously, it's been used quite a few times. Obviously, I've been boiling water with it. Probably something I should mention is that when you first finish boiling it, don't put the cap on right away, simply because the red hot steel, well, it's not always going to be red hot, but you get the idea, could potentially melt the seal in the cap. So don't put it on right away. Let it cool off for a little while first before you put the cap back on. That brings me to my next item, which I carry with me all the time, and as a fire starting tool. This is a ferro rod. Not to brag or anything, but this is a big ferro rod. This is the jumbo size ferro rod. This one in particular I got at the Outdoor Adventure Show. It's a 1/2 inch in diameter and it's 6 inches long. And the first thing I do always is I tie a leash off to it. So that way every single one of my backpacks has a jumbo rod like this on it. First thing I do is I take it off the backpack, clip this onto my belt, stick this in my pocket. It's on a leash. If I happen to drop it or set it down, I get up and walk away. It's not going to go far. It's going to stay with me. So why this over a lighter? You know, lighters work, they're effective, they're great, but what I found in my personal experience, and other people's experiences might be different, but in my personal experience, especially in the colder temperatures, big lighters don't always work in really cold, freezing temperatures. And also when they're wet, they can also seize up a little bit, but also not just that, but also the fact that you know, when you cook the lighter on, a little gust of wind comes on, blows it out, and just sometimes it's a pain in the butt just to get it to stay on sometimes. But still, no doubts about it, it's a good tool. A lot of people use it in their top 5 or top 10 items, and I'm not going to hold it against anybody, but those are my personal reasons. Ferro rod works every time. Works when it's soaking wet, works no matter what the temperatures are outside, it works every time. It's always been my #1 tool. Love it. So you can see it's obviously been used a little bit, but even then, this will probably last me the next 10 years or more of making fires. Not to brag or anything or rub it around people's faces. So I'm going to put this right back on my belt first thing. I usually make the leash long enough so that way I'm sitting cross-legged on the ground, I still be able to reach out in front of me and strike it all the same. And now my last item, of course, obviously, for most people, is a knife. This one in particular is the TBS bore. For those of you who either don't know or don't remember, TBS stands for Total Bushcraft Solutions. This is the bore. For those of you who are familiar with this blade, you'll probably notice that there is a modification to the blade. I'll discuss that in a future video when I do a review on this. But a good fixed blade knife is always a good idea to carry around with you. Not just for survival, but just in general. Some people do actually have a hatchet or an axe instead of a knife for their survival items. I choose a knife because it's always been my #1 tool. It's what I use the most often, and it's what I carry the most often. I usually don't even enter the woods unless I've got some sort of fixed blade knife with me. So this one here is, you know, roughly about 4.5, 5 inches long, I think it was. I don't know off the top of my head. Like I said, I'm going to do a review in the future, but a good fixed blade knife is always good to have. Full tang construction is always a very good thing to have as well. Full tang, you can always obviously see it in this one here. I would definitely it's a good idea to carry a fixed blade over a pocket knife. You know, pocket knives are weaker. They're obviously, if you put them up to any really serious tasks, obviously they're not going to hold up as well. So a fixed blade knife, I can do some small fine carving with this, make feather sticks, use it for splitting wood, variety of tasks. So it's a good item to have with you in a survival situation. It's my #1 go-to tool. I have multiple knives, not just this one. I've used multiple ones, and I have other ones that I use for other purposes. So it's all about your personal preferences, as I often say. So that's been my top 5 survival knives. Let's put this back in the sheath before I do anything else. There you go. Those are my top 5 survival items. This is Greenhat-Redbeard Adventures 2020. I'll see you around. Stay safe, guys.